Everyone, welcome to the show. So, I don't know what we're going to talk about today. The news has been so boring lately, hasn't it? Yeah, what a time to be alive. They're going to be talking about this period of time in history forever, till the end of time. And we are fortunate enough to be living through it. So, here's where things stand. As I'm sure you all know, Joe Biden, he proved once again he's a better man than Donald Trump because he put aside his ego. He made the selfless decision to drop out of the presidential race yesterday. The party is clearly already coalescing around Kamala Harris. There are a few reasons for this. I mean, for one thing, she is the only candidate who automatically inherits the Biden-Harris campaign funds. That is estimated at 91 million, which I don't think is as big of an issue today, which I'll explain in a minute. But a bunch of Democrats, even non-Democrats, have already come out and endorsed her. A political action committee that's known as Haley Voters for Biden, they announced they're going to be changing their name. They may have already done it. They're changing it to Haley Voters for Harris. So these are disaffected conservatives who supported Nikki Haley in the primary before she stabbed them in the back and endorsed Trump. And so the group's director told Newsweek that Harris is a, quote, tough former prosecutor and the best candidate to defeat Donald Trump. So the announcement of Biden's withdrawal also it helped to create the biggest one-day fundraising haul for Democrats in this campaign season. And overall, I mean, the largest one-day fundraising online in years and years. So as of the end of Sunday, yesterday, the New York Times had reported that Act Blue took in over $50 million in donations. Today, the Daily Beast updated that number, and they said it was almost 64 million. That was as of 7 a.m. Eastern time. So it's less than 24 hours after Biden's announcement. Then today, again, the Harris campaign announced, I think around the middle of the day, that donations had reached 81 million. So by 24 hours out from his departure from the race, his announcement, the new Harris campaign, essentially, I mean, it's Act Blue. The money goes to all Democrats, so it's not just specifically for her. But, I mean, it shows you where the momentum is at, where the energy is at. That surpasses their previous one-day high on Act Blue, which they said was from Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death. That day, when it was announced that she passed away, there was like $75 million donated within a 24-hour period. So also big dollar donors are coming back to the table. Abigail Disney, for one, she announced that she's going to hold a fundraiser for Harris. She said, quote, I am supporting her with all my heart. And then during a 100-minute Zoom meeting with a group called Win with Black Women, they raised $1.5 million just from their own supporters, which is 45,000 people. So that's called a clue, people, right? Democrats are excited. We now have other options on the table, or at least the one, it seems, because before this, party insiders were saying donations had completely dried up. The party couldn't even get volunteers. So it wasn't, all these people saying, oh, it's just the elites. It's just that. No, regular, run-of-the-mill, everyday, average Americans were refusing to step up and volunteer when the top of the ticket was Biden and when he was refusing to step aside. Because a lot of people felt, kind of as I was feeling, it was a waste of time and it was a waste of money. People had resigned themselves to another Trump term. So at least now we have some energy in the party. People are excited about this, that, it's not just Trump versus Biden again, which nobody wanted. So here's where things are headed. The Democratic donors were reportedly already funding a vetting process for a VP for Harris. So that was even before Biden made his announcement. They saw where the winds were blowing and they were like, okay, we got to get on this. So it's definitely going to be a white male. We know that much, right? Got to have a white male on the ticket. It is America still. So Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, also Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, they're on the top of the list. They're very popular Democrats in their respective red states. So, that helps. It means that they could bring those voters to the table. And here's how you know for sure this was the right move by Biden. I shared with you guys recently that Trump was freaking out at the possibility of Biden stepping out of the race. Well, now Trump, his cult members, even the Russians are in full meltdown mode. So the vampire who moonlights as a right-wing political advisor, you might know him as Stephen Miller, he threw a tantrum on Fear News Network. So check this out.
They held a primary. People, they had ballots. They filled out circles. They went to the voting booths. They spent money on advertisements. And as President Trump said, the Republican Party spent tens of millions of dollars running against Joe Biden. Now they just woke up one morning and said, never mind, we're canceling the entire primary. We're getting rid of our candidate, and we're pretending the election has never even happened, and we're going to let donors handpick a new nominee.
So we filled out circles, you guys. Oh my God, what are we going to do? We filled out circles already. Last I checked, Harris was on the same ticket with Biden. So the people who voted for Biden in the primary, they voted for Harris as well. It's not like the Democrats are all of a sudden upending everything and going with a completely different candidate. So that is another benefit in sticking with her, is that, people who did vote and were excited, which there weren't that many, but the people who were excited about the Biden-Harris ticket, at least they're not going to feel like, oh, now they're just getting rid of my vote and it doesn't matter and blah, blah, blah. So Trump himself, he had a little mini stroke on his failing social media site, had a meltdown as well. Even his comrades in Russia are upset. So this is really good. The Daily Beast reported that on one of the state TV shows, which they all are over there, a host was really upset because he said, quote, previously, he could easily attack Biden's health. Now he has nothing left to attack. Now they're switching and are trying to attack her, but nothing new will stick to her. Bringing up the fact she is not quite white will only activate her electorate. He also said that Trump got, quote, lucky when he was shot. They look at that as a positive. And so he said, now he's going to lose the focus of the voters because before, everybody was up in arms about Trump and worried about him and the focus was on him. And the host said that if Trump was, quote, a little bit smarter, he wouldn't have gone after Biden so hard because, quote, now he is the old candidate, meaning Trump is the old candidate. He said, quote, the only old candidate. And he referred to Harris as, quote, distilled evil. He basically said like, oh, she's always laughing and smiling and she always looks happy. And so, yeah, it's, it's hiding that she's actually the devil. Okay. I mean, that's some pretzel logic there. So this is just perfect because it highlights one of the biggest landmines that Trump and his campaign are going to have to try to navigate, because they have been trying, as you all know, they've been trying so hard to hide their natural, deep-seated racism, their misogyny, their sexism. And they've been trying so hard to win over Black, Hispanic, female voters, right? Or Black, Hispanic, and female voters, I should say, not all one and the same. But, they now can't use their typical attacks to rile up their white supremacist sexist base. Because if they do, they risk alienating all of those groups. So what we're already seeing is what they're left with. They're mocking her for her laugh. That, and they're slut shaming her as if. So what they're doing is, of course, they laugh. They're playing all these videos of her laughing, which is like, oh, okay, you want her to be crying instead? I mean, I don't get it. But anyway, they're also recycling this false story about Harris having an affair with a married man and using him to achieve success, or using men in general. So self-hating Jew and the lowest of the low, Laura Loomer, she is also out there falsely, without a shred of evidence, pushing this narrative that Harris has had numerous abortions and that's why she has no children. Yeah, she said something about her scarred uterus and how, oh, this is a woman who wants to kill babies and blah, 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 and all that. Just absurd and obscene. Anyway, I want to share with you guys the details about this false married man story, because this is not going to go away. I want you guys to know the truth. That way you can combat this online and then with your circle of influence. So if people bring this up, I mean, it shouldn't be an issue. We would never be hearing this about a male candidate. Not ever in a million years. If he had slept with 200 women, which Trump may have, right? She's literally running against a guy who was found liable of raping a woman, who's accused of raping a 13-year-old child at Jeffrey Epstein's New York mansion. But they want to talk about Harris having a relationship with someone decades ago. So here's the deal. 30 years ago, Harris had a relationship with someone named Willie Brown. Now, Brown went on later to become the mayor of San Francisco. It was like a year later he became the mayor. So he wasn't in that position of power at that time. Here is what these sexist, misogynistic, racist MAGA minions are saying. Here's a post. Here's just like one of the many from right-wing cult member Matt Walsh. So for those on the podcast, it says, quote, Kamala Harris got her start in politics by sleeping with Willie Brown. She became vice president because Biden needed a non-white female on the ticket. Now she likely becomes the Democratic nominee for president because the guy at the top of the ticket has dementia. She's made a career out of begging for handouts from powerful men, a thoroughly unimpressive human being. I mean, talk about thoroughly unimpressive human beings. Matt Walsh is right up there at the top, I'll tell you. I mean, I guarantee the guy is nowhere near as smart as Kamala Harris, nowhere near as educated as Kamala Harris. I mean, how is it she got a handout of a degree? She became an attorney through a handout? How does that work? So there were other similar lies posted, more of Trump's sexist followers hitting her with these ridiculous claims. The Daily Beast, though, they did a great job of laying out the facts. So what the deal is that Harris dated Brown from 1994 to 1995. Again, this was 1 year prior to him becoming the mayor. Then they said, Harris went on to become, years later, California's attorney general, all on her own. And that wasn't until 2011, so almost 2 decades after she had the relationship with Brown, after it had ended. So how exactly did she get into politics through him? And then she held that position until 2017 when she became a U.S. senator. By the way, how do you become a U.S. senator? Oh, yeah, it's because the voters come out and make a decision to vote for you. They put you in office, not a man, not some powerful man. The voters in California put her in that position, as well as the attorney general. Oh, and guess who donated, by the way, to Harris's re-election campaign for attorney general? Donald Trump and Ivanka Trump. Yeah, according to NPR, Trump donated twice to Harris himself. $5,000 he gave in 2011 and $1,000 in 2013. And then Ivanka donated $2,000 to her in 2014. Now, evidently, they thought that she deserved her job, right? They thought, as the attorney general of the largest state in the nation, she was doing a good enough job that she deserved to be in there and stay in there. So they donated to her. And if you hear them talking about, oh, this affair with this married man, which is Brown, that is false as well. So Willie Brown and his wife, when Kamala Harris and Brown were in a relationship, Brown and his wife had been separated for over 10 years when he started dating Harris. So they were still legally married. They had apparently just never dissolved the marriage, you know, technically and legally, but they weren't together in any way. And the proof of that is that Harris and Brown didn't try to hide their relationship. They didn't keep it a secret. According to Reuters news outlet, they regularly went out in public together. So if this was some, you know, shady deal and an affair behind his wife's back, why are they going out in public? Right? And so again, what is MAGA left with? Oh, her laugh. Ooh. I mean, even with that, Trump has proven he is off his game. He has lost a step. Maybe that bullet did do some damage because he's calling her Laughin' Kamala. I would have hoped for something a little more catchy, right? Something like Cackling Kamala, right? That's what I'd go with. I'm just saying. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about polling at this point because that is bound to change now that she is presumably going to be the nominee, right? Before, she was just a theoretical candidate, and you're never going to get legitimate answers from people, or, you know, people aren't going to really look into her if she's not the candidate at the top of the ticket. So now that we know pretty much that she is going to be it, everybody's going to go for her at the convention, now they can start getting some real polling. And even then, she was doing better than Biden, even before this. So we'll see. And then, too, once she announces who her VP pick is going to be, that is going to be a big game changer, too, as far as who goes for her. Because if you have her at the top of the ticket, and then you have a very popular Midwestern white male or Southern white male as her VP candidate, and people see that person as being more moderate and, you know, whatever their political stance is, you know, I mean, all of these guys are like, you know, generic white guy. So take your pick. It's all vanilla. Anyway, I will let you know when I hear more. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Please donate if you can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.